It is an honor to host you today, Dr. Munang. Thank you so much for joining us today. How are you holding up?
Thank you very much, Zenia. I'm doing great, and it's a great pleasure to be here today. And thanks for you guys for the confidence to bring me to share my thoughts on this very crucial, timely topic, climate adaptation and the intersection with peace.
I'll now invite you, Dr. Munang, to enlighten us and our speakers and share your views and experiential lessons on climate adaptation and peace.
Thank you very much, Chang. Thanks again. And today is more special from the perspective that we are intersecting climate change and adaptation with peace. And there couldn't have been more timely moment to do so, given the multiplicity of challenges that the globe faces, the changing climate, ecological degradation, a polluted planet. But what gives us comfort is that we can be able to know that a regular fighter who discards peace is bound to be fought by his own anger. This African proverb underscores the value of peace. Even troublemakers instinctively desire peace. Distinguished colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, but why is peace so valuable? Just take a moment and imagine 14.3 trillion US dollars. Just a moment. And imagine 14.3 US dollars. This amount, which is 12.6% of global GDP, and which exceeds the annual cost of achieving all the sustainable development goals by 100%, is what the global economy loses for being less peaceful every year. As these losses are, as alarming as these losses are, climate change comes in as a risk multiplier, with already highly vulnerable regions in the developing world bearing the brunt of this challenge. The science tells us, the science is unequivocally clear and tells us that while climate change is projected to shrink incomes globally, an average of 23% every year, incomes in developing economies that are already disproportionately vulnerable will be declined by a monstrous 75%. For example, South Asia is projected to face a 2.5 to 4% GDP loss each and every year. Africa's economies face a shrinkage of up to 15% in the next 9 years as we speak today, and 50 to 85% in just 29 years. These losses heightens the risk of conflict. They heighten the risk of conflict. Studies show that up to 80% of countries that host the most multilateral peace operations personnel are highly exposed to climate change. This is a direct correlation between high climate change risk and instability and conflict. Climate change exacerbates ecological degradation, which diminishes the availability of key ecological resources like water, like fertile lands that underpin productivity in key accessible sectors like agriculture, which underpins the livelihoods of the majority of communities, up to about 65% in the African continent. These already costing highly vulnerable regions in Asia and Africa, which harbor the most cause of degradation globally, of 84 billion in Asia and 65 billion US dollars respectively in Africa. This depletion of ecological resources translates to depletion of primary needs of food and livelihoods, which then exacerbate tensions among affected populations as they compete for diminishing resources, and this inflames conflict. But most importantly, is how we can get out of this quagmire. Climate action stands out for its effectiveness. Climate action is the singular most effective weapon we can use to address these challenges that I've enumerated. For example, the 2020 UNEP Adaptation Gap Report notes that targeted climate action investments of just 1.8 trillion US dollars would offer a return on investment of up to 7.8 trillion. In addition, the application of nature-based solutions, including ecosystem-based adaptation to restore degraded lands, also returns economic value. A UNEP FAO analysis that was released just 2 weeks ago shows and concludes that every $1 invested in restoration creates up to $30 in economic benefits. That is a 30-fold return These benefits are manifested through multiple success stories in some of the most vulnerable regions of the globe. The case of the African continent, Africa's Sahel gives a typical example. This region, the Sahel part of the continent, which emits less than 3% of the greenhouse gases that just one industrialized country emits, experiences temperature rising 1.5 times faster than the global average, fluctuating rainfall and droughts. These degrade land, reduce water supply to impact the core livelihood source of over 60% of the population, affecting livestock farming. Just one country, for instance, in the Sahel loses up to 100,000 hectares of arable land every year. Such losses in turn jeopardize food and livelihood security, which drives competition for limited opportunities, and the result of which is escalated insecurity. Escalated insecurity. Conventional military approaches alone have not successfully tamed these conflicts. They have not. On the other hand, the success of climate action solutions have been notable across the entire continent. The indigenous soil and water conservation techniques called the ZIPs prove capable of rehabilitating hundreds of thousands of hectares of crusted and barren land in the Sahel back to productivity. And with these pacify communities, strengthens communities, build community resilience, these indigenous EBA technologies were proven to enhance soil structure, water retention capability, organic content, and thus reverse degradation. These are realities, practical examples that we see across the entire African continent. They prove capable of increasing yields up to 500% with minimal fertilizers use, hence reducing fertilizer-related emissions. But it is not just about adaptation alone. Mitigation solutions leveraging solar energy are critical for complementarity, enhance income creation, and resolve socioeconomic vulnerability. If we can leverage just on simple solutions, affordable simple solar dryers, decentralize them to pastoralist communities in the Sahel and some other parts of the continent with similar climatic profiles, if we can do this, we will be able to address communities, enable communities to address the issue of animals before they get thrown away because they've died out of drought. They can address this issue before the onset of drought and enable them dry and preserve the meat that can potentially reduce depreciation in value by up to 6 times. Solar irrigation in the Sahelian region has been proven to increase yields by up to 100%, water savings by up to 80%, incomes by up to 40 to 80%, and these are additional income opportunities to enhance livelihoods and reduce conflict flashpoints while driving community resilience to climate change. Hence, the approach is what I call mitigation powering adaptation actions. So the message is clear and simple. Just as an African proverb reminds us that borders love each other when they are equally rich. Brothers love each other when they're equally rich. It's an African proverb. That then means creating socio-economic opportunities for people is a critical strategy to incentivize peaceful communities. Because we know that there is no peace without prosperity. Yes, there's no peace without prosperity, and no prosperity without peace. The path of peace is paved with prosperity. This means for each of us, it means for us to become peaceful builders, we must start by being prosperous creators, and climate action where mitigation and adaptation are implemented in complementarity as implied in Article 7 of the Paris Climate Change Agreement stands as a proven solution to this end. Across Africa, we are seeing more examples of climate action as a driver of socio-economic prosperity. And most importantly, just as it is the young trees that make up a forest, we are seeing young people finding purpose in selflessly delivering these climate action solutions. These young people, the youth, are aligning their work to implement the nationally determined contributions of countries. Africa NDCs pledge to cut emissions. However, the burden of choice for a region like Africa, that is a negligible emitter, yet disproportionately vulnerable to the changing climate because of a low socioeconomic base, lies in ensuring that emissions reduction simultaneously unlock socioeconomic priorities. Socioeconomic priorities of food security. I'm talking of food security. I'm talking of creation of incomes for communities. I'm talking of job opportunities, especially for the youth, the growing youthful population that need 12 million jobs in the continent every year. I'm talking of an expanding globally competitive economy, because as we speak today, most of the countries are less competitive. This is where willing young people are changing the tides, leveraging on passion, and tackling two of the leading degradation emission sources in the continent. If you take agriculture and charcoal, which induce deforestation through the mindset change tool that we've developed called innovative volunteerism, we are seeing willing young people who are structurally guided to retool their skills and selflessly work with communities to deliver climate action solutions that reverse degradation in the agricultural sector and in the forestry sector. And as they do so, they meet the NDC policy aims of cutting emissions while creating more sustainable income and socio-economic opportunities to enhance community prosperity. For example, these young people have been guided to work with local farmers, cluster them into groups, and develop and decentralize simple climate action solutions of solar dryers to enable value addition. These solar dryers are enhancing food safety by lowering incidences of aflatoxin by 53%, enabling farmers to increase life share of their perishables, cutting post-harvest losses, and helping farmers put more money in more pockets. And these examples, practical examples we see across the continent, are applicable in Asia, applicable in Latin America, and everywhere in the world. We are also seeing these young people turning agricultural waste into clean energy solutions, clean domestic energy solutions called fuel briquettes. And these fuel briquettes, just simple agricultural waste from cassava, from maize cob or rice hulls, with lessons picked from the internet, just needing some inspiration to be guided to be able to do this. We see them developing briquettes, which are 2 times cheaper than charcoal. These briquettes are also smokeless, making them a healthier alternative towards reversing indoor pollution that kills over 600,000 Africans each and every year. We therefore urgently need to replicate the successes that are happening, the successes of these climate action solutions developed by willing, innovative volunteerism actors in our different contexts. And as you do so, I would like to share the following guiding points for those who are listening. The first is you must develop an unborrowed vision. You must develop an unborrowed vision. Across the globe, there are diverse policies waiting to be implemented. The constituency of implementers is not only government alone, as seems to be the case in the minds of many. It is individuals like you and me, as the innovative volunteerism actors have shown, that they can be able to leverage on what they have to drive implementation of NDCs. Each of us must take implementation of solutions that enhance resilience of community as a personal responsibility. We must study the NDCs in our respective countries. We must look for the components that can implement these NDCs in a ways that touches the lives of those in communities, the lives of our mothers in villages, that create opportunities for the youth. This is the way we can catalyze our own unborrowed vision, which we then join with others who are equally selfless and get to implement solutions that can build resilience of community. That's how you build a secured environment. That's how you create peace. And that takes me to the second point. We must leverage on existing platforms to communicate solutions. We must never ever spend a single moment complaining without preferring solutions. We must leverage on Twitter to communicate solutions. In today's world, social media is a free tool that can enable you to reach the mass market with unbelievable affordability and effectiveness. If you are not, especially on Twitter or on LinkedIn or on Facebook or Instagram, to share on the solutions you are delivering to impact more lives, regardless of where you are, then you will lose out on the opportunities to build a much needed critical mass of like-minded supporting enterprises and stakeholders. In social media lies your market. In social media lies your business partners. In social media lies your suppliers and all the support structure you need to build a name, to build a brand of offering on-demand solutions that touch many lives. So everyone listening in today must be engaged. That takes me to the third point, which is what I call skills retooling. Your skill is your biggest premium. All of us have a chosen area of interest in sustainability or in peace. But to remain relevant in today's dynamic economies, we cannot stop at this. Continuous learning must become part and parcel of what we do so that we all complement what we already know with new knowledge and skills that will move us to the next level of being a competitive solution provider. Each of us must take personal initiative to train in new areas that will complement our existing skill sets to better position us to deliver actions that can competitively touch many lives in our communities. So taking personal initiative to buy books, to read journals, to research, and undertake online courses that will complement your skill set is critical to become a competitive solution provider in today's continuously changing economies. That takes me to the fourth point. We must cultivate purposeful passion. I call passion the new currency of now. It is the new currency of now. Transforming ideas into real-life solutions needs passion, regardless of who we are, regardless of where we come from. If we lack an enduring passion, then we will run out of steam in no time. The biggest gap we suffer in the world today is lack of passion. I call it the passion gap, which is needed to drive the meaningful development for people and planet. But what ignites passion in the first place is to be attached to a cause that is bigger than an individual, a cause that is bigger than an individual self. Without passion, you throw money at every problem and waste it and end up with no result. Passion is the real winner, because regardless of what we contribute, if it falls on passionless young people, then no transformation will ever occur. It is people who do development for themselves. All we can do is to facilitate the process. People do development for themselves. We do not do development for people. All we can do always is to facilitate through our inspirational actions. If we fail to do so, we will be missing out on the biggest enabler of turning sustainability actions into a prosperous society, which is a self-motivated, self-driven people. And that takes me to the last point. We must inculcate self-discipline in whatever thing we do. Self-discipline is important. Just like a ship without a compass cannot go anywhere, so is a human being without self-discipline. They are like a system experiencing entropy, what could loosely be defined as misguided random energy, which cannot accomplish any work. If you want to understand what I am saying more graphically, just imagine an octopus with its many legs walking on roller skates. There will be plenty of movement, but zero displacement, zero progress. In the same vein, each of us today needs self-discipline to develop an unborrowed vision that touches many lives. We need self-discipline to become selfless, to prioritize impacting many lives as opposed to serving self. Inculcating and continuously enhancing self-discipline should be our singular most important personal objective in life. If we are to take actions that build prosperous societies and leverage on those aspects I've shared with you today, and at the core of self-discipline is humility. At the core of self-discipline is selflessness. At the core of self-discipline is passion, and not passion to indulge oneself, but purposeful passion that touches many lives beyond our individual selves. This is how we can harness the willpower. This is how we can harness the resolve. This is how we can harness the determination, the positive drive inherent in each and every one of us for the catalytic progress towards enduring. We apply climate action solutions as a tool for unlocking prosperity, and by these build peaceful communities and societies. Thank you very much.
That was highly invigorating, Dr. Munang. And I must say that, your passion, not only through your work, but through your words, definitely reaches out to every person who's watching it. And it has definitely reached out to me.
Thank you.
Be it in terms of, we should thank you, you shouldn't be thanking us. Be it in terms of, talking about smallholder or small stakeholders, talking about, the changes that have taken place across Africa and how it has impacted, the variability of climate has impacted the people, and not just the people, the region in general, and what are, how it is a threat multiplier. And I think these things must be known to people all across the world. And strong policy frameworks, as you said, must come from the youth. And I would encourage, as you did, every person watching this, whether you're youth or you're not, all of us have our small ways to contribute to climate, positive change of climate. And we definitely must take on them. Just switching off your light when you're leaving your room is the smallest thing that you can do, which a lot of us don't do. So starting off small, but definitely taking that higher, is what I think Dr. Munang has tried to tell us. And now I will be moving on to a few questions that, some of them you've answered, sir, but some of them definitely require a wider perspective.
To fellow man, and to punish those who that bury their talent. This is innovative volunteerism. It is for you to make a difference.